Hello, everyone. We are live coming from Melbourne and Sydney. I'm Gabrielle Dolan, and this is Janine Garner, whichever way you're looking. This is episode 2 of the Whine Down. So this was a cool little thing we decided to do where we would just catch up once a month and talk about stuff, life, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what's annoying us, so we can have a wine. And we can have a wine. I'm drinking a lovely Pinot from Goodwill Wine, which besides doing great stuff, they have the best labels, which are really cool.
That. What does it say? What does that label say?
The world needs more of you.
Oh, it so does.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, that's me. And Janine, welcome.
Hello. How are you, stranger?
I know, it's been a while. We're doing this every month, but for some reason we were a bit late last month, so it's only been 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, someone has had a very special birthday. Big 50 to you.
I know, thank you. That's part of the reason why at the moment I have a glass of wine, because the last few weeks I feel like I have been on the grog more than off the grog. Had an awesome birthday. You bought me an awesome pair of runners, bright blue. Everyone in the gym has been commenting on them. Thank you so much. And had a great time. It's just the start. It's the Festival of 50. We've got a whole year of it.
Yes, I think we spoke last time. You said you were going to have a month, and I go, no, you got to have a year. Got to have a year of 50. Yeah, so how did you feel? How did you? Some people sort of handle those big birthdays, whether it's 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, handle them differently. How did you feel waking up, going, I'm 50?
Do you know, I had a few weeks of really weird emotions. So I reckon before I turned 50, there was this moment where I was actually going, oh my God, what's next? Like, the kids have hit a certain stage of life of, HSCs and what's next. And there was this moment where I went, oh my God, I'm entering into this next stage of life. And a lot of people were asking me, and I was starting to sort of go a little bit downhill and going, oh my God, what is this 50 thing going to mean? And then I woke up on my birthday morning and decided to actually just take a moment to think about the last 10 years. So what have I actually achieved in the last decade? And wow, that was just an incredible exercise, because 10 years ago, when I was hitting 40, I had just left my corporate job. So I just left the big corporate job where ever since I'd been 21, I'd worked up that career ladder. And I set up an event to launch LBD, which was my business, which I subsequently sold. So I launched that as a bit of a celebration for my 40th. And I had no idea where the next 10 years was going apart from this business. And when I look at what's happened over 10 years, from, writing books, speaking, traveling the world, launching non-for-profits, all the exciting things that we've done together, I literally got to this moment, Raoul, where I went, ooh, if I can do that in 10 years, what's going to happen in the next decade? And that got really exciting. Yeah. So
I think it's really good. I'm going to say, if people who are joining us have turned 50, I'd love to know in your comments how you dealt with it. But yeah, I agree. I remember I loved turning 50, and I don't know why. I just thought, and I think it was a similar thing. It was like, I loved my 20s, 30s were good, kids and stuff, 40s were great. But I just thought, like, if every decade keeps getting better, I know there might be a decade where it starts to decline, but maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's in your 80s. Like, who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's quite a way away.
Maybe it's not.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon? So I'm going to start having a rant now, because I did read, I don't know whether the algorithms of social media picked up, probably because I kept posting that it was going to be my 40th, 50th, that I was turning 50. But I got this post, right, and it literally talked about, we are now the forgotten decade of women. I got a little bit angry about that. It's like, what are you talking about? So this whole article talked about women in their 50s being the invisible decade of women. No way, right?
Who wrote it?
I can't remember. As soon as I started reading it, I went, I don't need to read this, and I'm just going to press the button and turn it off. It wasn't energy that I needed in my world. But that point of visible generation of women, they were talking about at work, they were talking about in society. What do you reckon? Because I think that they're wiser. I want to be one of those grumpy old women that just actually has an opinion and is not worried about what other people say anymore.
Yeah, well, I reckon we're evolving into that very nicely. Don't you worry about that. So I find that amazing because I think women in their 50s predominantly, that's when you're probably the most financially free. Perhaps, you're probably earning the most you've ever earned in your career. The kids are off your hand. You've got all this income you can spend. And I don't know, you and I are in a similar field where, we're speakers around the world. I know for a fact that being like at this age where people expect you've got a bit of wisdom and you're wise and being a female in the speaking industry is a bloody good time to be. So yeah, I don't think we're the forgotten generation.
No.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah. Yeah, I reckon 10 years ago, if someone was writing about women in their 50, it might have been the case. I'm not sure if it's the case now. So yeah.
We've got all that ignorance, all that wisdom, all of those cracks, all of the scars. It's like, surely now is the time that we can actually have even more impact. Now's the time we can become more brilliant than ever, right?
Yeah.
Raise a drink to that one.
Oh, you actually got a wine now.
I got a wine. My husband Jason just dropped it in. I'm not quite sure where my wine's from.
It's red.
It's red.
See, Jason's looking after your brand. You can't be doing something called Whine Down and not have a wine. He's probably listening and heard you drinking water and thought, what the hell is going on?
Exactly.
Hey, so you had your 50th, which is great, and we're going to celebrate that for the next 11 months. So just keep going. And so talking about, women with an opinion and are not afraid to say it, we can't let this week go by without talking about the Australian club, or should we call it the un-Australian club? Voting like 70%. Voted against it. What's going on there? What century are they in?
I know. And do you know what was quite interesting? There, a couple of people that I've been speaking to have said, yeah, but there's women's clubs. Yeah, but there's women's groups. Yeah, but there's women's this, that, and the other. And I go, yeah, but I don't even like those particular women's clubs. And Angela Priestley wrote a really awesome article in the Women's Agenda this week, an opinion piece where she talked about, I'm actually going to get Instagram just watching us right now whilst we're here, because I reckon there'll be people on Instagram that will have an opinion on this.
Okay, we'll do that. While you're doing that, I saw, because that is the argument. Well, there's women's clubs, there's female gyms, and I read something today that's saying, when you're in a privileged position, as males are and white males are, you don't need to set up a club to have more privilege. And the reason those female-only clubs are coming about is because they're excluded from other areas. So you look at a female gym. The whole reason a female gym has come about is because gyms are predominantly male and women don't feel safe and they feel intimidated. So they want to find their own little place. And if there's these business networks that are men only, then of course you're going to go, well, let's set up a women's only one.
Yeah. And the other thing that Angela Priestley was talking about, which I thought was great opinion, is that she was talking about this club that predominantly is made up of CEOs. It's made up of love that. Someone's actually just said, why would we want to join? Exactly, right? But that's not the comment. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about why on earth they do it. But she was talking about how, there's CEOs, there's politicians, there's judges, etc., that make up this Australian club. But these are people that in the media are talking about equality, that are putting equality statements into their annual reports, that are on paper talking about raising diversity and inclusion in their workplaces, and yet they're part of an organization that is actively voting not to have diversity. And the other thing she added was, even if these people have retired, they are now actually mentoring the younger men in there. And that's where I went, oh my God, this is like, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
You know what I reckon should happen? Because if they keep going this way, it will just die out. The third of the men that voted women should be excluded should all resign and start a new club, like maybe called the True Australian Club. And then they could have, you know, then equal amount of highly successful women that join this. So they've got a 50-50 split straight away, and bring in a lot of other diversity as well. And that those other ones that voted no, like, just, you know, put in some wheelchair access, mate, because you're going to need it. Like, imagine that. Imagine if you just lost a third of your membership because they said, okay, well, we don't want to be a part of this. And I would say any male that voted yes to include women that still stays in that club, that is so bad for their brand. So bad for their brand. And it's a case of you can go.
Yeah, I agree. One person's resigned, hasn't they? I was reading.
Yeah, one person resigned, and what's the former premier, or John Hewson, he actually didn't renew his membership at the start of the year, but said he would have resigned. Kath, my friend Kath has just written. I met Catherine. He's made a comment on my walking trip at Larapinta, and so she's joined us. And she's just said, "I agree, Ral. I don't want to join, but it's what it says to the broader community, and that is so true. It's so true that Malcolm Turnbull's daughter was talking about it, and she said, it's not whether you want to join or not; it's the message it gives everyone."
Yeah.
And these are people that already hold tremendous power, and what they're saying is we are going to actively exclude women from being part of this power, and that's what it says. So I know. I just sort of thought, God, seriously. The guy who resigned said some of the comments being raised as objection is we might have to change the decor. And he said that what actually saddened me is he said that when he was giving his reasons why women should join, he said people were laughing at him. They were like laughing and jeering at him. And it was just, you think, he's obviously decided he doesn't want to be part of that at all.
So isn't it interesting, right? On the one hand, we've got this conversation happening in the media about teaching boys what consent means, respecting women, actually listening to what they're saying, embracing diversity, inclusion, equality. We've got a huge conversation about, racism, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other hand, we've got a bunch of blokes, I reckon predominantly white, old guys voting with their feet that they don't want any diversity around them whatsoever. And these guys are the ones making decisions. Like, it's too big. The gap is massive. Like, what do you tell your sons? What do you tell your daughters? It's crazy. Surely, as a club, it's got to die out eventually.
Well, it would, and that's what you think. It'll just die out eventually. Yeah, maybe you hope, but we've often put our hope on generational change, and sometimes.
But it's a bit like you and I. I don't know if you remember that conversation that you and I had with a particular client, where they were talking about wanting to invest in a women's leadership program, and the conversation went, as long as it is cost neutral, we'll move forward. And do you remember you and I going, what does cost neutral mean? So you're saying you're going to take it away from one area of your L&D training, personal development budget, and add it into another? Do you remember that conversation? Yes, we'll invest as long as it's cost neutral.
Yeah.
It's like we really want women to get up to senior leadership position, but we've only got budget for half a day. It's like, what?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not really a thing. Samantha's joined us and she said frighteningly it's not only the old ones. And I agree. Samantha, you just reminded me of something that happened to me probably about 3 years ago now. I was in the car with my daughter and I was parking my car. I was in a shopping strip and there was a couple of tradies sort of working. And I went to park my car and I sort of went in forwards, and I'm a pretty good parker, I must admit, I'd say. But I scraped the wheels hit the gutter. No big deal. And I had the windows down and I kid you not, one of the guys, and he wasn't old, he yelled out, "Gee, your husband's not going to be happy with that, love." And it was like, I was shocked. And then I was so shocked, I thought, and I just said, I parked the car and I said, "Why would my husband care? Because it's not his car." And he went, "But I bet he paid for it." This is 3 years ago. But I reckon he was probably about 40. And that was his first thought. That because I'm driving, and look, it's not a great car. It's like a Skoda. And not that it matters, but that was the first thought. And I was in two minds. Because my daughter was with me, I wanted to go say something. But part of me knew if I went up and said to him, "So do you think that is slightly in any way disrespectful or sexist?" I knew his response would be, "Oh, it's just a joke, love. It's just a joke." And I actually didn't say anything, and I went and did my shopping and I went home, and I actually went out again without Alex to hope they were still there, because then I was going to say, because I was really angry by then. Anyway, they'd gone. It's like, it's just, what surprised me is this was 3 years ago, and that was immediate thought coming out of someone who was probably about.
Here's another one that happens immediately. Jack said your husband's.
My husband, Steve was shocked. Yeah. Steve was shocked. I think he went out and inspected the wheels though.
What about when you're in a restaurant?
I get that all the time.
And the male at the table or your husband gets given the bill straight away. I love that. Talking that, don't you? Have you seen that Heineken ad? Where it's the beer and the coffee. I love that.
Well, that happens to us all the time. And Steve just looks at them and goes, "Yeah, you better give that to her, mate." Just like, so evil, just like, but it's like, and it's only when I pointed that out to Steve, he goes, "Yeah, it happens all the time, doesn't it?" It was like,
yeah, it does. It does. So what are you working on at the moment? What are you noticing at the moment this month? What's been going on in your world?
Well, I've been, I was meant to be doing a lot of travel and we went into lockdown. And so what I've noticed is I think we spoke about this last time, the total acceptance of this flexibility that's required now. I'll be clients booking in work going, "I'd love to do it face-to-face, but if we need to do it virtual, it's fine." I've got work next Tuesday that was always going to be in Melbourne, and it's a company that's sort of split between Melbourne and Sydney, but they decided to do face-to-face their work in Melbourne. And then when we went into lockdown, they decided they're going to move it to Sydney. So now it's in Sydney on Tuesday. And now, because of the cases that have come out in Sydney, they'll make a call tomorrow whether we move it back to Melbourne or whether we reschedule. So I am noticing there's a lot more acceptance of we've sort of got to get on with stuff, but we've got to be really flexible about how we do it.
Do you know what's weird as well, being in Sydney? Because I had someone cancel something on me today for tomorrow, somebody who was flying in, and on the basis that there were all these cases in Sydney. And I literally turned around to Jason this evening and go, how many cases have we got? Like, is it really that much of an issue? Because you're just going, really? I hadn't even noticed it. And
were they from Melbourne? Janine, were they from Melbourne? Oh, okay.
No, Queensland. Yeah, so it's it's interesting how all our awareness. And then I was thinking about it and going, I would probably be the same if there were a heap of cases happening in Melbourne or Queensland, because it's not necessarily the going, it's getting stuck and not being able to come back, right?
Yeah. And so this is my, and this is where it just, these decisions you make, like the fact that we're even thinking about this does my head in, that how much our world has changed. So I'm going to see, like, if it happens and if we go ahead in Sydney, it's in the afternoon, I'm planning on going and staying up that night. And I'm even thinking I might stay another night because, you know, I can take the opportunity to catch up with people. And then I think, what if I get stuck there? As like, what happens? I guess I can just go to Bermagui. That's in New South Wales. But yeah, we're having these conversations about, you know, what happened if we get stuck with borders closed. Oh my God, it feels crazy. Anyway, so that's what I've been noticing. What are you noticing?
You know what? I posted a bit on this morning. So yesterday, and it's been building up for a couple of weeks with conversations that I've been having with clients, irrespective of industry. One-on-one conversations with people at a senior level have revolved around, I am so exhausted. I can't keep on top of stuff. There's so much work to do. I just feel like I'm clamoring. And this work-life balance conversation is raising its head again. So anyway, yesterday I sent out an email to my database just talking about the risk of burnout, people hustling their face off. I said it's like we've got into this crazy zone of hustling our faces off, of chasing. And the response rate in terms of people replying back to me, it's just the emails just never ending all day of people going, God, that's me, blah, blah, blah. And then I was watching something on LinkedIn, and another of my clients was talking about, he was at an event, they were talking about the future of work, and the conversation was around how much more productive people are being working from home. And yet he was arguing that the team productivity had gone down. And I basically just threw a challenge back, because I'm not convinced we are actually asking the real questions that we need to be asking. I'm concerned that instead what we're doing is just going, how do we get people into work, or how do we get people to collaborate virtually? And actually where my head's gone, because I'm connecting that future of work conversation with the personal conversations I'm having with leaders who are absolutely exhausted, is I wonder whether it's a fake statistic. I wonder whether actually the only reason productivity has increased at home is because we're fearful of losing jobs. We're wanting to make sure that we're still needed. The fact that there's redundancies still happening left, right, and center. The fact that costs are still being cut. The fact that pay rises in some industries aren't happening. And I wonder whether there's an unconscious fear which is making people work harder than ever, or there's this blurring of lines between work and home going on. And I wonder whether what we're going to see in the next 6 months is actually people going, this can't continue. And so they're almost going to vote with their feet a little bit more and hopefully switch off. But I'm just not sure that we are actually more productive. I think we're actually doing more because we're fearful about the results of not being seen. And my concern is the impact that it's having on people's ability to actually look after their health and well-being. And this burnout thing is really real. And I don't know what the answer is yet, because, you know, as I said, I'm hearing we can't recruit, we can't fill jobs, we can't backfill. The work's still there to be done. The expectation is we deal the work. Somebody the other day I had a client yesterday, and she was actually saying to me, she has not had a day, she had 1 day off in the entire year. This is a senior person in business, 1 day off, and yet she is in charge of multiple $1 million deals. There's something fundamentally wrong there.
So I agree, Janine. I reckon over the last 12 months, I have never heard so many people go, oh my God, I'm working 12 hours a day. I've been on, and it's back-to-back Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And part of me, I was always thinking, but why? Like, you don't have to commute into work. Everyone's probably just saved themselves 2 hours, but that's just been filled with work.
Yeah.
And I wonder why this has happened. And also, not taking holidays, people are going, well, I can't go anywhere, so there's no point in taking holidays. We got a few people commenting, Paul Matthews, welcome, Paul. Are we more productive or working longer hours? And that's, I think, that's exactly what you were saying, Janine, that we might be more productive, but that's because we're working longer hours. Fiona's going, I totally don't buy the productive stats. Agree. We're just freaking working longer. So of course you're going to be, you know what, and you might be more productive in the short term, but you know, how productive we are in the long term. But I think you're right. Your thing of saying, you know, well, there's all this talk about there's no pay rises going on. There's all this talk about people are losing jobs. So I think people just become fearful and go, I will work longer and harder. I will say yes to everything because I still want to be valuable. And it is in that environment, it is harder to say no to stuff. When there's an element of fear, it's just harder to say no to stuff where we would normally say no to protect our, you know, ourselves. We're saying yes to everything. It's a new it's a new version of presenteeism. What is that?
Presenteeism.
Everybody put my glasses on and what is that? Tell me what that is.
Are you present being seen? That's like when people used to stay in the office.
I see.
Well done, Fiona. You took our best-selling author off kilter then. I love it.
Yeah. Like your best-selling author that failed English didn't know that word. Who would know?
I'm going to come back to this conversation in a minute, but I just have to. We had parent teachers last night for our youngest Carter, so he's in year 7, and it was a late parent teacher, and it was in person, right? I was fully expected to be on Zoom, and the English teacher was going on and on and on about poetry and this, that, and the other. I actually had no idea what she was talking about. And I so wanted to say to her, but I didn't. My inner voice was going, I didn't do English past 16, and I've written 3 best-selling books. Put your poetry up.
Take that. That would have been a very mature, 50-year-old mature response, Janine. I'm thinking a good role model for your child.
I know that would have been the forgotten generation of women getting angry. Anyway, it made me laugh. But going back to this whole thing of burnout and presenteeism, I reckon, I don't know about you, Rel, but and you know, there's been all those conversations about Zoom fatigue. My eyesight, by the way, has definitely got worse in the last 6 months.
I can tell. Can I just say I can tell by all the spelling mistakes you have in your text messages.
No, that's just my
I feel like just responding to you, go put your goddamn glasses on or increase your text font. Stop being in denial. You're 50, increase your text font is all I'm saying. I'm putting it out there.
I am not increasing. The day I increase my text font is the day I'll stop doing the wind down with you. I am not increasing my text font.
Don't be in denial. You know what I did? I'm all about don't do things like 2 or 3 times a year when you can do it once every 5 years. I just went bang with seriously just went bang.
Well,
You see?
I can read that from here.
I did that 3 years ago and I won't have to get into settings for another 5 years. See? That, my friend, is efficiency. I could teach you a few things about efficiency. I could teach you a few things about denial.
Let's come back to
Fiona, it's not jargon. Just because I don't know the word doesn't mean it's not jargon. So I'll give you
here's what I reckon we've all got to do. Because Zoom fatigue's real. I don't know about you, as I said, but I find that my tiredness levels from being on screen are way higher than being in person. And I reckon actually what we've got to do is be much more intentional about the gaps between stuff and broaden it. So this week, I was on a retreat this weekend that I was running. I had a few conversations last weekend. probably wrapped up with the 50th. Actually, what I'm doing this week is re-looking at my diary and being more intentional about putting in that downtime, that finishing time, that switch off time, that go away time, because the whole everything got blurred. All of the boundaries got blurred in the last 12 months. So I think we've actually got to take more ownership about creating those gaps so that we are looking after our productivity, we are looking after our smarts. To be honest, we're being the leaders that we need to be, because if you're exhausted, you're not leading anyone. You're just being present and not doing bugger all.
Yeah.
So
Josh has made an interesting comment that's saying another theory of the hours worked is for some, work presents a distraction from the feeling of uncertainty, which we talked about, but maybe schooling and, you know, all that other stuff. So
yeah,
it could be oh, sorry, got to go do some more work instead of, so that, yeah, I'm Josh, I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. But yeah, I agree, Janine. I reckon what's happened when people were traveling into the office all the time, maybe those people that were protective of their diary, like scheduling gym or walks or whatever, and also when you come home from work, you've stopped working, which is very hard when you're just walking out of your office to the kitchen, and I've noticed that you can go back. You got to get into the habit, and I actually experienced that. So I'm really good at putting my gym in the diary. So, you know, at least my executive manager manages my diary. And so if I've got gym classes on, you know, Monday morning and Friday morning, and they're in there, and, you know, they're from 9 to 11. And even though the gym class is 9:30 to 10:30, I don't want to be rushed. If I want to go have a coffee afterwards, I want to do that. So it's in there. And of course, when we went into lockdown, there was no gym going on. And then, but I had to actually, and it took me ages to do this, I still had to schedule in, go for a run, and then put that in the diary, because I sort of think, you know, ideally I want to go for a run like maybe about 10 o'clock in the morning. So I get up and do a bit of work, but then if there's a meeting at 11, I'll go, oh, I can't really go for a run because I'd have to go for a run, then I'd have to have a shower, and then I'll do it afterwards. And I know come midday, I've lost the motivation to go for a run. So it's getting back into the discipline of protecting your diary. If you don't protect your diary, your time is depicted by everyone else's priorities except your own, and it just seems madness to do that.
Totally, and that's why I agree with what Jack's just said here. We've got to be more disciplined. And that is the tiring bit, because what you're saying is so easy to do. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can jump on a Zoom meeting 5 minutes after I've stopped the last meeting. Yeah, I can send that email, whatever it may be. Everything is merging in, whether it's out of fear, out of avoidance, out of just trying to get stuff done. We're just, you know, just a whole being of doing stuff, and we've got to get more disciplined. Your story, you told me when you had that 2 hours of lockdown in Melbourne, that you actually thought, I'll run for 2 hours. But it's a great story of how when we do more, like we always try and add more. Actually, before you tell that, Donna McGeorge, who is a mutual friend of ours, was telling me that what we're doing as human beings, when we have space, we actually go and try and add more in. And actually what we've got to do to build capacity is take stuff away. And this is why your story about the running is a perfect example of that.
Yes, there's a few metaphors in my running story. So so for those of you who don't know, I'm not a massive runner, but I'd like to go for maybe 1 or 2 runs a week, and they'd be normally 7, 8, 9 kilometers. And I do gym. I try to go to gym like about 3 times a week. So I try to exercise on a good week 4 to 5 times a week, which is good. And then of course we go into lockdown 3 weeks ago, and gyms are closed, and we're allowed to exercise outside for 2 hours. So normally when I go for a run, 9Ks, it takes me about an hour. I'm a slow runner, that's all right. But because we're allowed to go for 2 hours, I go, oh, well, I'm going to run for 2 hours. So it comes down to, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But anyway, so that's the first little lesson in my metaphor. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So if someone asks you to do something, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, right? Okay. It's like that. There's a lovely quote I say, not I say, someone else says it, but I don't know who says it, so I say it now.
There she goes again.
To be successful, you've got to get good at saying yes. So to be successful, just say yes to opportunities, but to continue to be successful, you've got to be good at saying no. You got to, so that's, you know, I should Google who said that. Someone, if I can't find it, I'm going to steal it. I'm just going to steal it for myself. But anyway,
I do think, sorry.
Go on.
I do think Steve Jobs said something along those lines, that actually you can have the ideas, but how you bring all that to life is actually you've got to know what you're saying no to, and it's far harder to do that. So anyway, back to you. Back to you, Gabrielle.
Anyway, back to me. So I've decided that I'm going to run for 2 hours. And, of course, I had all this travel scheduled. So all of a sudden I had heaps of time on my hands. And I went out the first day and I ran 15 kilometres in 2 hours, you know, so going from 7 or 9 to 15, but felt really good, slept really well, didn't have sore feet, got up the next day, ran 16 kilometres, slept really well, felt really good. Next day I didn't think I did 14 because I sort of walked. I ran and then I thought I'd walk a bit. That was good. I think I had a rest day. I was doing some work. Next day I went out and did another 15 kilometres. I think next day I did another 16. So I'm literally going from bugger all running to doing 15-ish kilometres in about 8 days. And on the last one I did, I started running and thought, I forgot to warm up. So one of the things I've realised, as you turn 50, who knew? But stretching is beneficial. Who knew? Anyway, so I've been really, really good at stretching. It's like my face moisturising routine. I only learned that at 50, but I've been really good at stretching. So I've been stretching. This time I forgot to stretch, and it's not even I forgot. Like, you know, when you do things that you know that work, and then all of a sudden you don't do them, and then it doesn't work, and you're like, when are you going to realise? So I came up a bit sore with my calf muscle. I had a bit of work on the next couple of days, so I didn't do any running. And then 2 days later I went for another run, did not stretch again. Like, dumb. Got in about 3 or 4 Ks in, and I'm going, this is not good. My calf muscle. So I sort of walked home, and I haven't been able to run for over a week, and I've done a calf strain. And I saw someone yesterday, and I said, so do you reckon I can still run on it? And she just looked at me like I was an idiot and went, no, you can't run on that. And she goes, unless you can walk up a hill without feeling it in your calf muscle, you're not running. And I was like, so, you know, part of me thinks, so yeah, figure out, you know what works for you. You know what works for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just forget that and we stop doing it, and then we wonder why, you know, all of a sudden we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And it was like, oh, you know what? We stopped blocking time in our diary. We started saying yes to things because we were concerned and worried about our job. It's not good. It's not good.
No, it's not. Do you know what? I'm like that with meditation. I discovered meditation a few years ago, and it has been the perfect antidote. Antidote, is that the right word? From me being really busy all the time to me actually just chilling out and being able to get that space. And what I realized over the last few weeks is I've just stopped doing it because I'm getting up and there's the kids stuff, and then I'm getting into work. And last week after my 50th, I went, this is crazy. I've got to reset all my boundaries. And getting back to it, I was like, oh my God, this is the best feeling in the world. But why do you put
that in your diary? Do you put that in your diary?
Yeah. I've actually from this week got in my diary that I'm not even accessible on phone doing anything before 9 o'clock. I've just turned everything off because it's just crazy. Yeah, and I need to have the same discipline at the end of the day. But why do we do that? Why do we stop doing the very things that make us feel good?
Yeah. And I think, look, and it's not as if I consciously decided not to stretch, but I consciously didn't decide not to. I think you think it's like, oh, you know, I'm feeling good, so I don't I don't know, I'm feeling good, so I don't need to do that. But the reason I was feeling good because I was stretching. And Paul has just written a comment that's sort of related, but work has seeped into my hobby time, so work has become longer than ever with less joy time. And I think sometimes when you run your own, like Paul's a colleague of ours who runs his own practice, that you love it. And I find that too. I will often work. People say to me, "Do you work every day?" And it was like, I reckon I do something every day. But the point is, I'm happy to do an hour on Saturday if I feel, especially if all the kids are doing something and everyone's doing something. I go, I might as well just go write the blog. That's because I know come Monday, I will get up and go for a run and go to the gym and have a coffee, and that'll be 3 hours on Monday morning where I'm not working. So I'm more than happy to spend. To me, it is a blur. But knowing that I have, the amount of people that
we've got choice.
Yeah, and the amount of people go, well, where do you find time? Like, where do you find time to write a book? And I was like, well, I've got heaps of time. I'm not that busy. I'm really
do
not.
You know what? I listened. There was an awesome, and if anyone wants it, just put a note in the comments and I'll put the link in. But Darren Hardy, who used to be the editor for Success magazine in the US, he posted an awesome video a couple of days ago where he was talking about time and actually said, we've actually got more time than ever. And the reason he says we've got more time than ever is, as his argument is, if you look back years and years and years ago, where, you literally had to work 24/7 because you were toiling the fields, you were taking stuff to the markets, you were cleaning your houses, you were cooking big stews, like everything was labor intensive. And now all of that labor intensive work has been taken away from us unless you're a farmer, for example, but most of us aren't having to grow, cook, do everything ourselves. And he said the reason we think we're short of time is because we're filling our time with the mindless tasks of scrolling through our phone, of watching crappy TV, of literally wasting time. And if you actually took that time that you're spending wasting right now and put it to a hobby, or as Paul has said, something that gives you joy, then you find the time. It's like you can learn, he was arguing, you can learn to play the guitar in however many hours. We can write a book. Like, how come some years you can write a book in 3 months and other times you're like, shit, I got no time to actually write a blog right now. And it's all because we're filling time with mindless stuff. It's so that was quite an interesting point. Hey, on that losing your mind when you're so busy, I was running this retreat. This will make you laugh. I was running this retreat at the weekend. Awesome retreat, a whole heap of incredible business owners, one of which is just on fire. Her business has gone from, let's say, low 6 figures to about 5-6 million. Like, she is on fire. To the extent, though, that when she walked into the retreat, you could see her buzzing. It was like this high energy that couldn't stop. Anyway, she didn't. She might even be listening. I don't know. And if you are, I'm not mentioning your name, my love. But she didn't stop all retreats. Like, we then had a meeting where literally she's still talking as we're saying goodbye. So it was a business retreat, not a chill out, a chillax, have a massage type of retreat. It was a business retreat to work on our businesses. Anyway, we're still talking as she's about to get in a car, and she says, I'll just quickly go to the bathroom. On her way in, she's going, mustn't forget my luggage, mustn't forget my luggage, mustn't forget my luggage. In the bathroom she goes, she comes out, she jumps into a car, she drives all the way home, 2.5 hours back to Sydney, gets at home, opens the boot, her luggage all left back at the retreat. And it's not just an overnight bag, because she'd had 4 days in Brisbane at a conference, then flown into my retreat. So 2 massive bags, plus her computer, plus all her work stuff left in the retreat. And I literally just spoke to her, and she said she phoned the hotel and said, surely I'm not the first person that's ever done this. And they said, well, madam, people leave things like sometimes chargers or vanity packs or whatever it is.
Children. That's children.
Of children. So, but actually, we've never had anyone leave their entire luggage here before.
Yeah.
Because we're so tired.
So practical. Michelle, hi Michelle, welcome.
Yeah.
Michelle's going slowing
Welcome,
down and
Michelle.
reducing the busy factor freaks some people out. Yeah, it does, Michelle. I agree. It's like you, and we all know, we work in corporates, Michelle and I, like you and Janine run stuff together. Yeah. People use busy as a badge of honor. Like seriously, if you walked into any corporate building in Australia or government and you just randomly ask people, how are you? I reckon 50% easy would say busy. Like, what does that mean? And I almost like go to, people go, oh, how do you write a book? How do you fit it in? Like you must be so busy. It's like, no, I'm not busy. Not busy. I'm full. Yeah. I've got as much work as I want, but we've got to stop using it as a badge of honor. I had a meeting today, and then I had a sales meeting. So I caught up with coffee with a colleague, had a sales meeting, finished about 12 o'clock, looked at my diary and went, next thing I've got is this. I've got 6 hours. And I literally thought, I've got nothing to do. And it was so good.
Oh,
I just decided.
That's so good.
We took the dog.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm still guilty of filling in the time. That's the discipline I've got to get better at.
So Janine, I did fill in the time. So I did, I did a few LinkedIn posts and I did some stuff, but I did I wasn't just sitting there doing nothing for 6 hours, but it was like, hey, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to, go do something, But yeah, it's just, we're just like, and when people go, and people are going, oh my God, I have to be working 16 hours a day and using that like they're so critical that no one else can do it. And I just don't buy into that. I just think, I know sometimes people have pressure, but a lot of the time they're doing it because they want to feel important. And I just call bullshit on it. I don't do it to their face, but in my head I'm going, that's bullshit. Everyone has a choice to do that. And you're doing it because you want to. So who else is commenting here? Jack's going, you prioritize the stuff that's important. And absolutely, if you want to you prioritize where you spend your time. I remember going back years ago, my brother was in a very unhappy marriage and he would spend all his time at the cricket club. And because when I met Steve, he used to play cricket and, like his wife would go, but does Steve spend so much time at the cricket? I go, well, he used to until he met me. And then he wanted to spend time with me. It was like, seriously, and I remember saying to Mum, he's spending time at the cricket club because he doesn't want to be at home. We prioritize where we spend time. And it was back to what, I think Josh said earlier, sometimes people are working long hours to get out of homeschooling, to get out of being at home. So we do prioritize because
they've never had it right. Hey, you know what I got for my birthday? Because given there's people here online, I want to pick brains, right? I got a record player for my birthday.
I saw that.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And that's like, I love like sitting in my office, putting on an album and listening to a bit of vinyl. My kids were giggling. Well, I giggled at them actually because they're like, they didn't realize there was another side to it. And there's another side to the album. So if anyone's got any recommendations for albums, put them in the chat. Jason's just walked home with In Excess Kicks album. That's going to go on when we've finished.
In Excess Kick was the first CD I ever bought. So it came when I was about 21. So I agree with the kids. I recently bought a retro player, and it had a disc player in it as well. And I brought it for Jess out in her studio. I had to show her how to use the album and flip it over and turn it and blow the fluff off the needle. But what I also had to show her, which I thought, oh my God, yes, I'm going to have to show. I had to show her how to play a CD. She had never ever played a CD, and I'm going, so you can skip ahead. And she's going, oh, that's cool. I was like,
oh wow,
I never played a CD either.
Do you reckon the sound quality is different? Because I'm loving listening to the vinyl. I don't know
love
why.
the crackly bits. So I when I turned 18, I got a stereo. So I've kept my album collection, but then I got a CD player when I was 21. So my album collection is 3 years of my life. It's from 18 to 21. I reckon I've got maybe 50 albums, and it's very different, from Uncanny X-Men to Billy Joel to Simple Minds.
Christy's laughing. Do we know Christy? Hey, Christy. So Christy, I want to know what your favorite album is. I'm wanting more ideas. It's like, throw them in. Jack, if you're still here, Samantha, Fiona, Josh. What are your favorite album and why?
Christy, hang on. Christy, you've never played a CD. You're old enough to play a CD, Christy. Christy is the chair, or the outgoing chair, of IABC Asia Pacific.
Oh.
So I've just been on the board of IABC Asia Pacific because Christy got me in. I've never played a CD. Seriously, what is going on? Are you like 20? If you're 20, you look older than 20, Christy. Cold Chisel Flame Trees, Jack's put up. That's a classic.
Yeah. So why, Jack? Why is it your favourite? What does it remind you of? I'm laughing at Jack.
And Jack's on Elton John, Tiny Dancer. Can I also put in a later one? Elton John, Too Low for Zero. There is so many brilliant tracks on Elton John, Too Low for Zero. I'm Still Standing, Crystal, Kiss the Bride. I guess that's why they call it the blues. Jack met Jimmy Barnes. Right.
Oh, Jack. Love it. Those albums where you go, everyone's a hit. Every single's a hit single.
Pretty in Pink. The Pretty in Pink.
Oh, that's my favourite.
That is my favourite. I played that the other day when I was out in the studio. Got so many, like In Excess have a song on it. It's just so cool.
Oh, I think I might get that. I think I might add that to my wish list. Pretty in Pink. That's going on there.
Yeah,
love it. Talking Pretty in Pink, which was your most favorite 80s movie? Is it Pretty in Pink? That's one of my favorites. I watched.
Oh no. Footloose.
Yeah, Footloose is good. Breakfast Club. But I watched Mannequin the other day and didn't realize how rubbish it actually was, but I loved it at the time. I made my kids watch it and then I'm like, oh my God, this actually is not that good, is it?
Which one was that?
Mannequin with Andrew McCarthy and what's her name? It's in Sex and the City. Yeah, it's all a bit random.
Jack's saying she interviewed Jimmy Barnes. Jack used to be a radio DJ. Were you a shock jock, Jack? Oh, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good choice.
Teskey Brothers. Who's Teskey Brothers?
Who are the Teskey Brothers? Are they old or are you on trend? A backpacker I met in New Orleans recommended Frank Turner. Frank Turner, Christy, Christy, I'm going to defriend you, for God's sake. You've never played a CD, and who the hell is Frank Turner? What's going on? Have you been drinking, Christy?
Jack, we need you to interview Christy if she's been drinking.
The Breakfast Club was cool. The Breakfast Club was good too.
Yeah.
We got another one for the Breakfast Club, Fiona's Breakfast Club.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you already mentioned Abby, you can't be friends. Okay. ABBA is just unbelievable. ABBA is. How can my kids know all the songs? ABBA is, their music has just gone, generations, generational stuff. ABBA is.
Who remembers Boney M? So I was in a taxi on the way to the city the other day for a meeting, and the taxi driver, I love Toto's Africa. That is my favorite.
You can continue to be my friend because you like Toto's Africa. You've actually mentioned something I know about, which is good. You can stay on board. Go on, Janine.
Yeah, so I was on the way into the city, taxi driver, Uber driver, and he was playing Boney M's greatest hits. And I'm literally in the back going, starting to have a little bit of a jive in the back of the seat, because it reminded me, what is it about music? Why does music take you back to a moment in time? And what Boney M...
Yeah, it's
emotion. Well, I remember being a kid in the back seat, and Mum and Dad were taking us to Wales, and Boney M was on like constant replay, and it was a tape. It was a cassette at the time. And this holiday, it absolutely pissed it down. And we had no waterproofs. And all I can remember is going into this big hangar and coming out with a big blue anorak, big blue waterproof pants, big blue wellies. And that's my association with Boney M. Anyway, I came home to the kids and went, oh, this album's awesome. Listen to it. And they went, who the hell is Boney M? And then, as Christy said, Rasputin, someone's done a remix of it. And apparently on the radio the other day, they literally said, those parents out there probably remember Boney M and are going, this is an old song. And all the kids are going, this is a new song. It's actually both. I'm going, yeah. So finally it's now cool to be playing.
I love it. I love it when your kids start singing a cover and you sing along. And this happened, I think, when someone was singing Fire and Rain, and I think Lana Del Rey or something was singing Fire and Rain, and I was singing, and they looked at me in horror and they go, how do you know this song? Like, they were disgusted I knew it. I go, because it's not a new song. Hey, Fiona's mentioned Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a classic. Fiona, whenever I'm in a workshop and I ask a question and no one answers, I just go, Bueller, anyone, just like, and then people laugh because they know the reference. Okay, we got a few more comments. Christy, you were laughing that Jess hadn't. Okay, Christy, you're back. Oh, you can stay on as my friend. We're all drinking. Oh, yeah, true. It's mine down here. Christy's laughing at life. Oh, recipe. Yeah. Go on. I'm showing. Sorry, I'm getting to messages. You must all. Jack's getting come on with the Teskey Brothers too. Version of In Excess, Never Tear Us Apart. Do it now. You okay? All right. Okay. See, I'm hanging on Christy, and Jack's come up and given her street cred, so that's all right. Yeah. Young Melbourne blues band. Our daughters should marry them. Okay. Oh.
yeah. I'm going to Teskey Brothers.
We do a double wedding with our daughters marrying the Teskey Brothers, and we can have it at your place on your balcony.
Hey, any questions? Those of you that are listening in, or anything that you might rather now to try and put right?
I'm going all red. Oh, my face is going red. Seriously, I have half a glass of wine. And okay, I'll go. Michelle's coming in on the Teskey Brothers as well. Maybe I do know them. I just don't know their name. Oh, the Teskey Brothers. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm just making it.
Oh, now you're just trying to be cool. I get it.
Now I'm trying to be cool. Got no idea. We've got a few minutes left.
So anyone got anything that they'd like Ral and I to try and put right in the world? Because you know us,
solve the problem.
Best-selling authors, Harvard graduates. We can solve a problem.
Harvard graduates. Jack and Michelle are Harvard graduates. We went to. I went to Michelle. Harvard Michelle with the first time. She just said to me, I said, yeah, sure, what the hell? And then Jack and Michelle and I went the second time. So, yeah, that was cool. It was funny. It happened in May. So we were getting all these, like, Facebook memories from Harvard, which is very, very nice. We've got to go to Harvard.
Oh, Jack, we've talked about Jack's asking Australian Club for Men. We've talked about that at the beginning, Jack. We talked about Blackjack before. We went off bloody tap on them. It was like, seriously. Yeah, you need to watch it back. Our take was they need to rename that the Un-Australian Club, and all the men that voted for women to come in need to resign en masse, set up something called the True Australian Club, automatically get 50% women in, and just watch those other dinosaurs die out. I'm not talking about violence. Die out. I think what I really need. Day 17 of lockdown, Christy, Melburnian with you. Day 17, suck it up. We did about 27,000 million days last year. No, we're coming out of lockdown 2 at midnight. We can go more than 25 kilometres from our home, which, I know.
Hey, the truth has no impact on me. In fact, even 5 kilometres from my home had no impact on me. But anyway, all good. Except I was going to be going to Brisbane tomorrow, but that's clearly not happening. Brisbane still have their borders shut to Melbourne. And I think they're shutting them to New South Wales too, Janine.
Oh, that would explain my phone call today.
Yeah. Sing a song. Sing a song, Michelle. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
We could try.
What would you sing? Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, sorry, I missed it.
I don't know what I would sing. I'd sing some of that Teskey Brothers if I'd listened to them.
If we knew who they were. I reckon they sound a bit like, hey, I'm a Teskey brother. Okay, that's we've only got 9 seconds to go, so I would love to sing a song because I do have a beautiful singing voice. Said no one ever. But we can't. So we're going to go, hey, we're going to do this next month.
When's our next one? What?
I don't know.
When are we catching up again?
It's the 3rd Thursday of the month. So, I don't know. We'll let people know. Someone will work it out.
And we never know what we're going to talk about. We usually have a rant, as you are all together now. I love that song. That was a big song when I was back in England for the football, I think.
Right.
If it's the same song.
Let's not sing, Janine.
Yeah, I have no idea what time, what date, but we'll be back here. We've got no idea what we'll talk about.
That's all. Read your book, Magnetic Stories. Lovely. Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, at all. You need to read Be Brilliant.
Yeah, read Janine's book. Be Brilliant. Write a review. No. See, just say thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Brilliant girls. Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Jax. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Christy. I'm going to be your friend forever, Christy. Just don't worry about me ditching you. You're all good. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Come back.
Yeah, come back. Come and join the conversation.
And we'll do it again. I think I'll put on my foundation next time so my nose doesn't go. That's what happens when you're 50. I think.
And get the bottle of wine there so you can keep filling up.
Yeah, cool.
All righty. I can smell dinner cooking. I need to go and have my dinner.
Good job. Clearly you're not cooking tonight.
Oh God, no. We got vegetable shepherd's pie.
All right. Okay, everyone. Thanks, Michelle.
See you, everyone. Good to chat. See you,
Love you too, Chrissy.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.